It is 6 p.m. on November 21st, 2023, and welcome to your City Hall, and this is the City of Iowa City formal meeting, and I'm going to call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alter.
Here.
Burgess.
Here.
Harmson.
Here.
Sully.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Teague.
Here.
Thomas.
Here.
All right. Well, we want to welcome Councilor Sully, who just won an election and actually was taking over former Councilor Janice Weiner's spot. So welcome back. And we acknowledge our colleague that just won another election, Councilor Dunn. So welcome from the audience. All right. We're going to move on. And welcome to all of you. Welcome to your City Hall. Happy to see you all here. To those in person and online. We're going to move on to item number 2, which is a special presentation by Sarah Gardner on 2A is Soul Smart Designation Presentation. So welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here this evening with an awkwardly large plaque. I'm here to talk about the Soul Smart designation that the city recently earned. You may recall earlier this year our planning staff came to you with an update to our code to make it simpler for folks to apply for solar and to include some incentives. We actually used that as a catalyst to enroll in the Soul Smart program, which is a national program that evaluates city operations in 5 key areas against national best practices. And those areas are planning and zoning, building inspection, government operations, community engagement, and market development. And I'm quite pleased to report that at the end of all that evaluation, we were determined to be in the gold tier standard among communities. We now join over 500 communities in the U.S. that have gone through this program, only 13 of which are in Iowa, and only about a third of them achieve the gold standing. It's a program sponsored by the Interstate Renewable Energy Council and the National City and County Management Association and is under the Department of Energy. So it's just a really exciting development, and we're quite happy to be presenting the plaque to you, Mayor Teague, and the council this evening. And then we're going to take it back and hang it up in the lobby. But I just want to say that this designation is a testament to years of ongoing work across multiple city departments to support residents and businesses and organizations that want to add solar arrays to their facilities. And I'm really proud to see this work recognized on a national platform and say that as staff, we really valued going through this program and learning about practices in other cities that we can add to all the great work that's already being done here. So congratulations and thank you for your support of this work.
Thank you. And if council can maybe stand in for a quick picture. Oh, you're welcome too. Thank you. Thank you.
Back, were you?
Great honor. We're going to move on to proclamations. Item number 3. 3A is National Injury Prevention Day. Whereas unintentional injuries are the leading cause of deaths for Iowans age 1 through 44, and the 4th leading cause of death for all ages. And whereas injuries and violence resulted in an annual average of 2,200 deaths, 14,000 hospitalizations, and 387,000 emergency department visits in Iowa. The number of injuries in Iowa is estimated to be higher due to the unknown number of individuals who receive other medical care or no care at all. And whereas injuries can result in a high cost to Iowans with average charges up to $54,700 per hospitalization and more than $1,900 per emergency department visit annually. And whereas in Iowa, the 3 leading causes of unintentional injury deaths in 2022 were falls, motor vehicle crashes, and unintentional poisoning. And whereas University of Iowa Stead Family Children's Hospital and University of Iowa's hospital and clinics, the University of Iowa Injury Prevention Research Center, Iowa Department of Health and Human Services, and other partners across the state are committed to increasing public awareness and education around the prevention of injuries as we observe National Injury Prevention Day in Iowa and throughout the year. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Teague, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim November 18, 2023, to be National Injury Prevention Day in Iowa City. And to receive this is Sarah Nelson and Pam Hogerworth accepting this proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor Teague, and the rest of the City Council for supporting this proclamation. It's very important to us at the Children's Hospital because we see way too many kids arrive at our hospital with an injury that could have been prevented if a safer behavior may have been chosen. And so it's the fourth year of this national awareness campaign, and our Children's Hospital leads the efforts around our state. Sarah is a fourth-year or senior student in health and human physiology here and was the intern with me working this year to help promote this effort around the state, and I think she did an excellent job and represented the University of Iowa very well. So thanks again for supporting this. I think the big takeaway that I want City Council and certainly the audience to hear is that most of these injuries that show up are absolutely preventable, and it is the leading cause of death, disability, and hospitalizations. And so it's a big strategic mission of our hospital to try to decrease those injuries. I always tease my pediatric trauma surgeons, I want to put them out of business in the injury prevention world. So thanks again for your support.
Thank you. Three B is Transgender Day of Remembrance. Whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance is an annual observance on November 20th that honors the memory of the transgender people whose lives were lost in acts of anti-transgender violence. And whereas the 1999 Transgender Day of Remembrance was founded in order to memorialize the murder of Rita Hester, a transgender woman. And whereas the Human Rights Campaign tracks annual statistics of violence against people in the transgender community. The latest statistics currently available for 2023 report over 25 transgender or non-gender conforming people fatally shot or killed by other violent means in the U.S. A disproportionately high number of victims are Black and Latinx transgender women. And whereas Transgender Day of Remembrance is an opportunity to look forward to the future and recommit to ending discrimination and transphobia by amplifying the visibility and voices of the transgender community. And whereas participate in Transgender Day of Remembrance by attending and or organizing a vigil on November 20th to honor all those transgender people whose lives were lost to anti-transgender violence, and learn about the violence affecting the transgender community. Now, therefore, I, Bruce Teague, Mayor of Iowa City, do hereby proclaim November 20th, 2023 to be Transgender Day of Remembrance in Iowa City. The Transgender Pride flag is hanging at City Hall, and it started last Wednesday, November 16th, through tomorrow, Wednesday, November 22nd. And accepting this proclamation is Luck Keechee from the Iowa City Pride and Doug Kolash from the Iowa City Human Rights Commission.
Thank you, Mayor Teague. On behalf of the Iowa City Human Rights Commission, thank you for this proclamation. Hundreds, as you mentioned, hundreds of transgender people die from violence in this country every year, and that violence is encouraged and fomented by the hateful legislation that we are seeing across the country, and especially in our state. This proclamation is important because words matter, and standing up and making people aware of the problem matters, but actions are a statement. Words matter, but actions show where our beliefs truly are. So I hope that in the next year, we work here in Iowa City to help those transgender people who are being robbed of their health care, who are being denied services and discriminated against, and who are being erased by school boards and book bans across the state, across the country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lucky Kiche. I'm a teacher in the Iowa City School District. My pronouns are he and they. It can't be said enough. You've already heard it from a couple people, but in 2023, for the first time in the 40-year history, the Human Rights Campaign declared a national state of emergency for LGBTQ plus Americans in response to over 550 anti-LGBTQ plus bills introduced across the country. More than 80 of which were passed into law. This is a record high for anti-LGBTQ plus legislation enacted in a single state legislative session. The previous record was just 25 enacted bills. In the last 12 months, 9 in 10, 90.9% transgender nonconforming victims were people of color. 7 in 10, 69.7% were transgender women. More than 6 in 10, 61.8% were Black transgender women. 3/4, 78.8% were under the age of 35. Among those with known killer, almost half, 45.5%, were killed by a friend, family member, or sexual romantic intimate partner. More than half, 51.5%, were initially misgendered by the police or in the news or reports. These statistics don't lie. We use this day and every day to remember, celebrate, and cherish our beautiful trans siblings who were taken too soon, and call upon all levels of legislation and allies to take a meaningful action to protect our trans lives. So thank you.
Thank you. And thanks to everyone that came for a proclamation today. We're going to move on to our consent agenda, which is items 4 through 8. Could I get a motion, please?
So moved, Alter.
Second, Taylor.
Moved by Alter, seconded by Taylor. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? And I just want to, as we're going into public comment, I just want to note that there are stickers in the back of the room for people to pre-fill out if you're wanting to speak at any point during the council meeting today. If you are online, you can raise your hand to speak at any of the agenda items. For the online, we will only allow agenda items to be commented on, just so that everyone is aware. So I'm going to ask again if there's anyone from the public that would like to speak on this agenda item today. See no one in person or online. Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Burgess,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Salee,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Alter.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. We're moving on to item number 9, which is community comment. This is, yes. Nope, you're good. Yes. So we're moving on to community comment, and this is an opportunity for people to speak on any item that is not on our agenda. And just wanting to see a raise of hands of how many individuals that want to speak on items that are not on our agenda. Great. And if you're also online, please raise your hand. Well, actually, we won't go to online. All right. So we're going to allow 3 minutes to everyone that is present here today. Welcome.
Thank you. Andrew Dunn, Iowa City. I would just like to first of all congratulate Councilor Salee on her ascendance and taking of office, and I would also like to apologize for not having my office, or my desk cleared out. I will take care of that in short order. That being said, I'm just going to take this opportunity to bring up an issue that I will be talking about quite a bit in the community and on council come January, and that is my concern with the district process that we have here in Iowa City. I'll just basically be reading my op-ed. Confusion has long been a staple of Iowa City's local elections. The Iowa City Council has two types of councilors, all elected to 4-year terms. First, we have 4 at-large councilors that the entire city elects. Our 4 at-large councilors have no restrictions on where they can live in the community. Second, we have 3 district council members who each must live in their respective districts. The average person familiar with government would reasonably believe that only district residents vote for their district council member. In Iowa City, that's not the case. District council members must be elected by the entire city, not just district voters. Every Iowa City voter gets a vote in every city council race. We functionally elect every councilor at large. This system strangely results in primary elections that also deviate from expectation. One might think that if all city elections were functionally at large, primary elections would be the same. In Iowa City, as many learned in the October 10th District 8 primary election, only district residents can participate in a district primary. This level of complexity is at best extremely confusing for voters and at worst a systemic barrier to change in minority representation on city council. According to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, under an at-large system, the votes of voters of color are often drowned out or submerged by voters of a majority white voting population who often do not support the candidates which are preferred by black voters. Iowa City appointed our first black mayor in 2006. According to a 2018 University of Houston report, at-large districts were the most common form of representation in most local offices until the 1960s passage of the Voting Rights Act in 1965. The system doesn't just dilute the voting power of communities of color. In 2015, a study by the Martin Prosperity Institute and the University of Toronto listed Iowa City as the 14th most economically segregated community in America. Until my election this year, 34 years had passed since a renter, Karen Cubby, was elected to Iowa City Council. As high-rises keep going up, old homes get leveled, mobile home parks become investment opportunities for blood-sucking out-of-state private equity firms, and the cost of buying a home keeps rising, we deserve a city council that reflects our community's diversity to address these issues. That's why I'm proposing a few different things to address this problem. Path 1 would amend the city charter to allow for the direct election of district seats, and that basically just means District C, A, and B would be directly elected by the people within those districts. Path 2 would move everyone to an at-large system, Path 2 would move everyone to a direct election by district system, and Path 3 would allow, us to address confusion by moving everyone to at-large. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. It's never fun. Welcome.
That was an accomplishment.
Yes.
What are you doing down here? You're supposed to be up there.
No, I'm not.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I know you're not, but anyway.
Please state your name and city you're
Congratulations
from.
to our new councilors. My name is Brandon Ross. Maza here. Hey, good to see you up there. Laura, good to see you up there. Pauline, I'll miss you. Anyway, I would like to bring up that it's an important issue for Iowa City to be concerned with not only just what happens in our city, but outside, and what happens outside does come home to us, and that we are now militarily involved in 2, especially 2, but more than 2, I can probably about 6, but 2 major situations of conflict. One is Israel-Palestine, the other is Ukraine and Russia, I would say, and that I would like to encourage everybody to please call your senators, your Congress people, the White House, write to them, be in the streets to tell our State Department or at least our elected officials to stop our State Department from just bombing everybody and sending bombs and not being open to negotiating. And I believe that this is something that affects us locally as it does the world. Those of you, I speak a lot about Ukraine. I am Ukrainian. All my mother's side is Ukrainian. My mother is first generation. I would say that the Ukrainian government that is in, it's a regime. We don't support it. Ukrainian people in large don't support it. I bring up year 2019, after the overthrow of Viktor Yanukovych, who was democratically elected president in 2014. In 2019, Petro Poroshenko, who was the U.S. preferred president, left office with 9% approval rating. 9% approval rating was the lowest in the world. That regime was not not popular. During this time, the U.S. was arming militias to attack people in eastern Ukraine. 2019, I go again to UNICEF made a warning. They made a report and a warning that 500,000 children were at risk in eastern Ukraine being attacked by the Kiev regime. 2,000 plus children died in those attacks. 16,000 people from eastern Ukraine died in those attacks. And that should have been stopped, but the U.S. was supporting the attacks on those people. I will say also that in the run-up to Russia's intervention to this conflict, that there were thousands of ceasefire agreements that were broken by the Kiev regime that occurred on February 16th, 2022, February 17th, February 18th, February 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Thousands of violations of ceasefire. And in response to this, Russia intervened on February 24th. This war is dirty. The U.S. is wrong, just as wrong as it was in Iraq. And we have had the wool pulled over our eyes, and it's time to pull that wool off our eyes and to call our people in Congress and to write and to stand up and stop sending bombs.
Thank you. And if anyone else wants to speak during this time, you can start just lining up if you're able to. Welcome. Please state your name and city you're from after you sign in. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Vincent Chopa. I'm from Iowa City. At the September 19th City Council meeting, I made a public comment in regards to the trash found in Ralston Creek. My goal was to bring attention to the council members of the large amounts of trash that polluted it. As the response I was given was a simple thank you, on October 7th, me and my friends took to cleaning the creek ourselves. As we planned to clean the creek, we learned from a Parks and Recreation employee that no department in our local city's government is actually responsible for the maintenance of this creek. We additionally learned that when the Parks and Recreation Department does take the time to clean the creek, they are doing so only in response to complaints of houseless encampments along it. We were astonished to learn the only time our city cares enough about garbage by the creek that is not garbage that's disrupting our ecosystems, but it is displaced people's personal belongings that they do not want to be on display for the public. Here I will note that while we were cleaning the creek, we found no more trash alongside these encampments than any other part of it. When I initially came to talk to the council, the demand was for the city to clean the creek themselves. Upon learning that when the government cleans Ralston Creek, it is used as an excuse to displace our houseless population, I come here today with a demand that is much more clear-cut. We need more waste management downtown, a preventative measure to ensure that less garbage ends up in the creek in the first place. What we are officially demanding is a trash can placed at every corner of every bridge that Ralston Creek runs through downtown. The only thing that stands in the way of this is funding. Last council meeting I spoke at, I noted how our $16,391,387 police budget is more than a third of the Public Works and Parks and Recreation Department's budgets combined. Today I want to compare this number to how cheap it would be to place these trash cans. If we were to place a trash can at every corner of every bridge that this creek runs through, a similar trash can to every other one that's found downtown, it would cost the city at most $25,000. This is 660 times less than our police budget. When our climate is changing at the rate it is, when the first week of October temperatures were in the 90s, why does a department that has been increasingly infringing on our citizens' rights deserve this money more? The demand I made today is clear. We need more trash cans downtown. We have shown you physically how much trash is plaguing the creek. I have given you the math to show you how cheap placing these trash cans would be. It is clear the city has this money and is choosing to allocate it towards a police department whose actions regularly impose harm to our citizens. Me and my friends calculated how much of our own personal, hard-worked, earned money that we spent on cleaning this creek. It was $683.20. If a group of concerned citizens can risk their financial stability to clean up this creek, then the government has no excuse to not allocate a tiny fraction of their budget to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Please state your name and city you're from.
Quentin Bryant from Williamsburg. Hello, my name is Quentin Bryant. I'm a city employee here, and I'm here tonight in my capacity as president of AFSCME Local 183, the union that represents non-public safety and non-administrative and confidential staff here in Iowa City. I'm here today to talk about the proposal we came to you with 2 months ago regarding the exhaustive inflation our employees have been experiencing and lagging wages. I ask that you consider our proposal to open the wage portion of the contract for this fiscal year. Due to the inflation we have seen over the last few years, our wages have fallen behind approximately 10%. Our employees, myself included, have been struggling to make ends meet at home due to these unprecedented times. We ask that you consider our proposal to help soften the impact this has had on the city employees. I can tell you from speaking with many of my coworkers that this would be a tremendous help to them, their families, and their futures. With the positive growth of the city, we are serving more people than ever. We take pride in our work and our ability to provide great service to the folks here in Iowa City. We are also experiencing the challenges of recruiting and retention, which results in heavier workload. We are seeing our coworkers and friends seek out employment opportunities elsewhere in search of better wages and seeing fewer applicants to fill those positions. The impact of this decision stretches beyond city limits. Employees will be better able to provide for their families and home lives, and management will be better able to recruit high-quality, talented employees and retain them. Employees will have a boost in morale, leading to increased motivation, productivity, and overall job satisfaction. This aligns with the city's goal of becoming the employer of choice in the region and building a diverse talent pipeline. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. Thank you for your time and support.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to speak during this time? Yep. If there is anyone else that want to speak, I want to see hands at this time. Seeing no one, welcome.
Hi.
Please state your name and city you're from.
Thank you. My name is Ellie Hoffmeyer. I'm from Iowa City. I work at the Englert Theater, and I am an active member in the music scene. That's basically all you need to know about me. Recently, several of my peers and members of the trans community were served arrest warrants regarding their presence at a protest on October 16th. And I'm glad we've approved Transgender Day of Remembrance, but as was earlier mentioned, actions speak louder than words or declared days. So I urge you as representatives to leverage your voice and ask that these charges against trans folks in our community, artists in the greatest small city of arts, be dropped. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to items number 10, which are planning and zoning matters. Thanks to everyone that spoke today. 10A is zoning code amendment, reduction of maximum allowable height in the RNS 12 zone, ordinance amending Title 14, zoning to reduce the maximum allowable height in the neighborhood stabilization residential zone from 35 feet to 27 feet for single family and duplex uses. And I'm going to open the public hearing and welcome Danielle's.
Thank you, Mayor. Danielle Stitzman, Development Services, presenting tonight on this proposed amendment. As way of background, as you may recall, this was a task given to staff by City Council back in June as a priority to work on in response to requests from neighborhood groups. We presented information based on analysis that staff performed between that June 6th direction and the August 16th Planning and Zoning Commission. At the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, we were given direction by the Commission to actually delay that and do some additional analysis as the goal of the requested change had changed. So taking that direction from the Planning and Zoning Commission, staff proceeded to continue conversations with the neighborhood group, the Northside Neighborhood Association, about the requested code change in September, listening to their feedback at that point in regards to the requested height change, that the 35 feet height max acts as a financial incentive for investors to demolish older, affordable owner-occupied structures, that the 35-foot height maximum encourages redevelopment and out-of-scale buildings that harm neighboring properties. Specifically, an example that was provided was the 319 North Van Buren Street site. And they requested a reduction in height from that 35 feet to 27 feet for only new single-family and duplex structures. We again met with P&Z on October 18th, and the request was actually altered a third time at that point to just consider single-family and duplex, not the just new single-family. So What's presented here tonight is an amendment to the maximum height for just single-family and duplex structures in the RNS 12 zone. As part of the research that staff conducted based on City Council's direction in June, we did review the creation and application of the RNS 12 zoning district. It's a relatively new zoning district. It was created in 1992 with the intention of stabilizing certain areas of the city. It had an impetus with a redevelopment project in 1992 that brought that to the attention of the city, and the goal of neighborhood stabilization was researched and created a new RNS 12 zoning district to address stabilization in single-family neighborhoods. Staff also did review how the zone, once it was created, was applied to properties over a 14-year time span throughout certain parts of the city. So this map shows where the RNS 12 zoning district was applied once it was created as a possible district to be used, starting in 1993 and proceeding through 2007. Over that period of time, certain multifamily districts, the RM12 zoning districts, were changed to the RNS 12 zoning district, which is, like I said, primarily a single-family neighborhood stabilization district. In addition to understanding the history of the RNS 12 zoning district's creation and its application, staff did, during that intervening time between June and August, also analyze the properties that are currently zoned RNS 12. We did conduct field work to understand the existing structures that are built and out in those areas of the city. We also reviewed GIS data and took additional measurements. This map shows the location of all property currently zoned RNS 12 in the city. It's the yellow areas that are either hashed or not hashed. The red outline is the boundary of the North Side neighborhood. This does show you where those properties are in relation to each other. And just for some basic statistics here, there's approximately 500 properties or parcels currently holding that RNS 12 zoning designation. 75% of those RNS 12 properties are also regulated by an overlay district, which is what the hashing indicates on this map. That overlay district would be for historic preservation or historic conservation. So the opposite of that, the 75% that are hashed, that leaves 25% that are not hashed. To talk just about the properties within that red boundary, inside the North Side neighborhood or Goosetown boundary, 85% of those properties are also within an overlay district for conservation or historic preservation. So that is slightly higher than the average across the entire city. And then only 15% of properties that are zoned RNS 12 in the North Side neighborhood do not have a designation overlay on them for historic preservation or conservation. This table, I think, which is included in some of your materials, kind of also itemizes the number of parcels. So that leaves 47 parcels in the North Side neighborhood that have only the RNS 12 stabilization zone applied to them and no additional historic or conservation district overlay. So talking a little bit about historic conservation and preservation overlays, it's important to note that because these properties, the ones that have these overlays applied to them, do have additional rules and processes that add a large degree of protection to what occurs with those properties. And that is based on their value as historic properties. So they are regulated to additional standards. Those additional standards are developed in the Historic Preservation Handbook and then are reviewed by an additional commission, the Historic Preservation Commission. It applies to exterior changes, significant changes to those properties, but it also prevents demolition, and it also regulates when new construction does occur, that the new construction basically comply with the design requirements of those different neighborhoods within historic preservation boundaries. In short, the city has a very robust preservation program, and the overlays add a large degree of protection from future construction, demolition, and development as changes over time. In our discussions with the neighborhood groups about the reason for the request, one of the reasons articulated was concern that the existing height encourages redevelopment. So one of the things the staff did analyze was the amount of change or demolition going on in RNS 12 zones since the 1993 creation of the zone. Since that time, there have been 17 residential demolitions in the RNS 12 zone. The data suggests, though, that redevelopment pressure is not great and redevelopment is not increasing. This may be due to the fact that so much of the land, as I mentioned, is RNS 12 is also protected by those overlaid zones for historic and conservation. But we did also look specifically at the heights of things as they were being redeveloped, and really nothing is maximizing out the current allowed 35-foot height. So when redevelopment is happening, it's not seemingly happening to take advantage of a larger height or greater height allowance. So stabilization is the main purpose of the RNS 12 zone. The Central District Plan includes that as a value for land in the Central Planning District. It does say the preservation of single-family residential character shall remain by preventing further densification and conservation of and conserving single-family residences. Really, this was the 1992-1993 focus on slowing down redevelopment pressures, and the creation of the RNS 12 zone really seems to have accomplished that. So in conclusion, while height limits are intended to prevent domination of adjacent properties, the city has traditionally found that 3-story building heights, the 35-foot height, are appropriate in all areas containing single-family uses, including the RNS 12 zone. The purpose of the RNS 12 zone is to maintain a single-family character, which has been interpreted as preserving single-family uses and preventing the spread of multifamily conversions and redevelopment. And that's what we really saw with the application of the RNS 12 zone, changing the zoning districts from the RM zoning districts that they were and putting them into the RNS 12 zone. The current height limit is consistent with other single-family residential zones throughout the city. That 35-foot height limit is very consistent throughout all of our single-family zones, thus serving the purpose of the RNS 12 zone to maintain a predominantly single-family neighborhood character. The purpose of height regulations are to promote a reasonable scale and relationship between buildings. All land uses should be considered when establishing a height limit. A public purpose justification must be identified for regulations imposed by the government, such as maximum heights that vary based on land use. Alleviation of perceived redevelopment pressures and preservation of neighborhood character are not served by allowing uses to be constructed at varying heights. Implementation of the zoning code must also be considered. The proposed change requires staff to implement different height requirements for different uses built at different times. Staff does not recommend creating unnecessarily complicated regulations. Zoning codes are already difficult enough. 75% of the properties, as I said, zoned RNS 12 are located in an overlay zone for historic or conservation districts. As staff report outlined, new construction would still be subject to the historic preservation guidelines and require review and approval by a Historic Preservation Commission. In short, 75% of properties within the RNS 12 zone are already subject to additional review that ensures new structures are not out of scale with the surrounding neighborhood. Taking a little bit deeper dive into some of those standards, the historic guidelines actually take the context of each part of the historic districts into account when outlining the requirements for new construction. Redevelopment pressures do not appear to be mounting in areas zoned RNS 12. Since 1992, there have been 17 residential demolitions, 6 of which occurred prior to the land being rezoned. This is an average of approximately 1 demolition every 2 years. This may be due in part to the large number of properties that are located within historic and conservation zones, which already restrict demolitions. And finally, the purpose of RNS 12 zone is not tied to historic characteristics or the scale of redevelopment or scale of development. For that purpose, the city does have the more specific overlay standards and the historic guidelines that control those considerations. So again, this is just the steps that we've taken leading up to tonight's decision. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did meet, as I mentioned, on October 18th. A motion was made at that meeting to maintain the current 35-foot height maximum. That motion passed. Therefore, the commission recommended denial of the proposed amendment to reduce the maximum allowable height to 27 feet in the RNS 12 zone. That is consistent with staff's recommendation. I'm happy to answer questions.
Danielle, can you go back to, there was something about, and I know it's in the memo too, about public purpose.
Sure.
Can you explain that a little bit further?
Sure. So in order to have an ordinance or a law, the city should have a purpose in what it's regulating and trying to regulate through that standard. At this point, we would say the governmental purpose of a height limit is fine as is, that the 35-foot height maximum that we have for single family is sufficient for all single family, and there would be no governmental purpose of having a different height limit for single family in different parts of the city. So there's no governmental purpose in a different height standard for the same use.
Yes, I'm like, just definitionally, what is a government purpose?
And do you have a better definition for governmental
sorry.
purpose that you'd like to share?
I would just call it a justification for the change, a rationale for, and if, again, as Danielle mentioned, this would be a change only for single-family and duplex uses in the RNS 12 zone. The other uses that are allowed in that zone would still be subject to 35 feet. So a rationale for having different standards, a different height maximum for different uses within the same zone.
Okay. How does that then fit in with, I want to say, is the comp plan for the north side? Because I know that there were different characteristics that trying to create sort of what is the character of this neighborhood and what does that look like, and so how do those two things work together?
So when we were looking at consistency with the comp plan, we were looking at the future land use map, which has a residential neighborhood stabilization land use category, which really focuses on maintaining a single-family uses and not allowing conversion and redevelopment of multifamily uses. So the conclusion that we came to is that the focus is really on use and not scale.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, could you, I was reading through the memo, and I forget exactly where I saw it. How many existing homes would find themselves non-compliant?
So that was something that we looked at originally to kind of try to estimate existing heights. We don't really have a good grasp of how many would become non-conforming. There would certainly be some, but we don't know the exact number.
I think it said something, correct me if this sounds wrong, but something around 20% was possible?
Yeah, and I would say too, that was, when we did that analysis, we weren't looking just at single family and duplexes, we were looking at all uses. So even that number is probably, it's probably different than 20%.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just asked the city manager when you say like the non-compliant, how many is interesting, but I don't think we're gonna do any, even if we change it to the 27, we're not going to ask people those to comply, right? It's just going to go with the flow, right?
Yeah, if there was a situation where, let's say, a duplex was higher than 27 feet, it could just continue as is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's just what I wanna know.
Don't hear any other questions. Thank you. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're in person, please raise your hand, as well as online, raise your virtual hand. So I see 4 in person, yep, and none online. So welcome, and please state your name and city you're from.
Hello, everybody. My name is Susan Chalot. I live in Iowa City on the north side. I'm a member of the Northside Neighborhood Association Steering Committee. In requesting this height limit change, we're asking council to prevent something from happening that hasn't happened yet. And I know that's kind of a stretch, but we sincerely believe that without this change to the zoning code, 35-foot tall single-family and duplex residential structures will be built in RNS 12 zones that are not covered by historic or conservation district overlays. Such inordinately tall structures would further destabilize these already fragile neighborhoods, violate the intent of the RNS 12 zone, and run counter to the objectives of the comprehensive plan and the central district plan. And here's how. The RNS zones in the north side and adjacent neighborhoods fall within the university impact area, which is subject to intense demand for off-campus student housing. The vast majority of properties in RNS 12 neighborhoods are single-family and duplex structures, and very few, if any, of those structures exceed 2.5 stories, which is 27 feet. We believe the current 35-foot limit, which is essentially 3 stories, provides a financial incentive for investors to demolish smaller, older, and currently affordable owner-occupied structures in these areas, making it very unlikely that appropriately sized and affordable new structures will be built, whether for students, young families, immigrants, or retirees. It was this housing market pressure and the vulnerability of the city's central neighborhoods that spurred council to create the RNS 12 districts in the first place, and to give it a unique public purpose, namely to stabilize existing neighborhoods by preserving their predominantly single-family residential character, end quote. Market pressure also led city government to stipulate in the Central District Plan as a matter of public policy that the city, quote, will work to achieve a healthy balance of rental and owner-occupied housing in the district's older neighborhoods, end quote. Permitting new infill structures as tall as 35 feet will make that objective much more difficult. In addition, the 35-foot maximum was originally adopted to allow walkout basements on sloping lots. There are very few sloping lots in the RNS 12 zones and none in the north side's RNS 12 zone, and that eliminates the need to allow 35-foot residential structures in these parts of the city. Lastly, the compact lots found in the RNS 12 zones are among the smallest in the city, and 3-story buildings could easily dominate neighboring structures. The existing 35-foot limit therefore contravenes the purpose of the RNS 12 zone, where the zoning code states that maximum height standards are intended to, quote, promote a reasonable building scale and relationship between buildings, provide options for light, air, and privacy, and discourage buildings that visually dominate other buildings in the vicinity, end quote. We welcome new infill residential development in the RNS 12 zone, as long as these structures are appropriately sized, affordable, and contribute to the neighborly residential character of these older parts of the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pretty impressive.
Welcome. Please state your name and city you're from.
Good evening. My name is Jim Throgmorton from Iowa City. The staff emphasizes that 85% of properties in the north side are located in historic or conservation overlay zones. And it reports that guidelines in the Historic Preservation Handbook state that, quote, new structures must be 1.5 or 2 stories in height, unquote. This strikes us as a very good reason to adopt the 27-foot height throughout the entire RNS 12 district. That way, the guidelines and the zoning law would be consistent with one another. Moreover, having a consistent 27-foot maximum height would protect buildings which are located in the RNS 12 district, but on the outer edges of the historic conservation districts. The staff also emphasizes that the Historic Preservation Handbook allows demolitions only when a building is structurally unsound and irretrievable. Yes, but years of neglect and disinvestment can make a building unsound and irretrievable. Moreover, the staff's argument disregards the properties that are not located in historic or conservation overlay districts. We count 83 such properties in the southeastern corner of the north side neighborhood. 72 of them are single-family or 2-family structures, and all of them are 1 or 2 stories in height. 11 of them are assessed in the $100,000 range. Imagine the development pressure on these largely affordable but unprotected properties. Even more important, the past does not necessarily presage the future. Relying too heavily on past trends is like looking in the rear-view mirror to know where you're headed. Just 2 weeks ago, you approved amendments to the zoning code which are explicitly designed to increase the supply of housing by making it easier and more profitable to build new structures. How many of these new structures will be 35 feet tall if the code is not amended? Finally, we believe there are good public purpose justifications for varying maximum heights by land use. The rationale for a 27-foot height limit for single-family and duplexes in RNS 12 zones is to preserve the existing quality of life in these neighborhoods by ensuring that new single-family or duplex structures on these small lots do not dominate their neighbors. The few non-residential uses allowed in the zone could still be up to 35 feet tall, yes, but the zoning code already subjects these uses to greater setbacks that adequately mitigate against any potential harms. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sherry.
Welcome.
Hi. My name's Sharon DeGraw, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself and for a few friends that are in the Fairchild area and have RNS 12 unprotected, so not in historic district or conservation district near them. The residents and property owners affected by the potential for overly tall infill development live in homes that conform to the height maximum we're seeking. These are houses or duplexes that are under 27 feet tall in the RNS 12 zone, and this is mostly what you find in Iowa City's older neighborhoods. I hope you agree that when zoning policy is well crafted, the advocacy work is minimized, and you don't find citizens showing up at council meetings or filing petitions. If a more consistent height maximum were in place, one that matched historic and conservation districts in the RNS 12, much of the trouble at lots like 319 North Van Buren Street would be cleared up. Imagine you're a young home buyer who's just purchased a modest older home in the portion of the RNS 12 district, not in a historic or conservation district. Now imagine how upset you would be to learn that a 35-foot tall house was about to be constructed next door, blocking your light, your air, and your view, and you have no right to oppose it. Voting in favor of this amendment is smart for the consistency it would bring to the RNS 12 zone. At the same time, 27 feet gives developers a lot of leeway to build new homes when the time comes for infill development. The amendment is simple and involves changing one number from 35 to 27. And it will give a consistent maximum height for developers when building houses or duplexes in the RNS 12, that's new infill development. It will remove an element of unhappiness for homeowners who learn a 35-foot tall building can be constructed next to them, especially on narrow lots. It will reduce speculative land buying for development purposes, redevelopment purposes. It will leave more opportunity for home buyers wanting a house near the downtown because things will be more affordable. It will enhance the strength of the neighborhood and business areas, such as the North Side Marketplace. There are shoppers and diners there who walk around in the neighborhood and they say they appreciate what they see. Please vote in favor of the height amendment and support the values of the residents and homeowners living in RNS 12 who appreciate the human scale of the neighborhood they live in. And I have a couple visuals. I don't know if it's possible to bring them up or I could present handouts, but if they're on the screen, oh, do I go here? Oh, what do I do? Yes.
So your 3 minutes are up, but you can submit things for correspondence at this time.
There you go. Okay.
Yep.
My handouts are being passed out.
Yep, thank you. Could I get a motion to accept correspondence?
So moved, Taylor. Second, Alter.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Welcome. State your name and city you're from.
I've got my name here. I'm putting it in the basket. I am Deanna Thoman, and I live at 208 Fairchild Street here in Iowa City. I'm the North Side representative on the city's Historic Preservation Commission. And just by way of introduction, Mayor and councilors, I emailed you earlier this month with my thoughts on the city's new zoning changes. And tonight, I'm here to address this specific topic of allowable height in the RNS 12 zone. So as I mentioned, I live at 208 Fairchild Street, and that's in the North Side District. I've lived there for more than 20 years. My sister Dana and I bought the house when we were in college, and the home, which was built in 1876, once belonged to my great-great-grandparents. I like my home and the neighborhood I live in. I like the vibrancy of living near the downtown and the university. From the second floor of my house, I am able to peer down at the flower beds that I keep in the front yard. And above this, I see a layered horizon to the south, and that includes church steeples as well as new tall structures. So we know the trend in Iowa City is to build up, and this trend makes good sense in the right places. Historic neighborhoods, however, are not the right place. In 2004, I stood at this same podium and voiced my support for the creation of the North Side Historic District. The plan, which included my block, passed, but some property owners objected so much that they were left out of the district. Several non-protected properties sit across the alley from my house, and 2 others are across Fairchild Street. So the 2 properties that sit across the street from me were built in 1890 and 1900. And these are solid homes. They're rentals. They have large backyards. These structures are in the RNS 12 zone. There is no conservation overlay for these homes. Currently, they could be torn down and built tall, dwarfing the surrounding homes and blocking sunlight and the skyline that my neighbors and I enjoy. Tall structures would undoubtedly disrupt the scale and harmony of my block. As we know, the RNS 12 was created to stabilize fragile residential areas. And as was stated, I know Robert Mickelow, he stated that the 35 feet was meant to accommodate these walkout basements on sloping lots, but we now know there really aren't many RNS 12 structures that sit on sloping lots. Mickelow stated in August that he felt the 35 feet was excessive and should be changed to 27 feet, which is sufficient for 2.5-story houses that are commonplace in old neighborhoods. I agree with this, and I ask that we change to 27 feet. Just kind of summarizing here.
Thank you.
Okay.
I never like to do that, by the way. Yes, welcome.
Hello, my name's Susan Futrell, and I live on Fairchild Street, also in the North Side neighborhood in Iowa City. Speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, Will, I support this amendment, and I would urge you to do the same, even though you have considered it for a long time, and I know there are a lot of mixed thoughts about it. I want to urge you to truly listen to the people in the neighborhood. And ask that you support this. I think it makes complete sense to have a different height restriction for the same reason that it makes complete sense to have the RNS 12 district in the first place. And I want to speak to 2 particular points. One is the vulnerability of these neighborhoods, and the other is the affordability. We've owned our house on Fairchild for 27 years and have owned property in Iowa City for about 40 years. Young first-time home buyers who were able to afford to buy in that neighborhood precisely because it's a mixed rental and homeowner neighborhood. I think if you don't live in that neighborhood or these close-in older neighborhoods, it's very hard to appreciate how vulnerable they are to 1 or 2 buildings in a block completely altering the character of the neighborhood. These are very, very dense neighborhoods to begin with. The houses are close together. There are alleys. There's parking and access on all sides. And to go beyond the height limits that the neighborhood is designed for puts a pressure on the parking, the maintenance, the streets, the character of the neighborhood. A lot of people in these neighborhoods in other parts of the city as well have devoted ourselves over and over and over again for the last several decades to supporting the visionary things the city has done, like historic districts and the RNS 12 district. And I would urge you not to undo and undermine all of those hard-fought efforts to stabilize what is now a really diverse and relatively affordable neighborhood. I want to speak to the affordability as well. I'm a longtime advocate and supporter of affordable housing. I was a founding member of the First Tenants Union in Iowa City, and I have never wavered in my belief that affordable housing is a right that needs to be available to everyone. In these neighborhoods, older, close to the university, there is no amount of housing, no matter how tall, that is going to outcompete students, particularly now that the state has taken away your ability to regulate the number of people per unit. And again, I would urge you not to fall prey to the idea that the marketplace.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I see one additional person that wants to speak. Is there anyone else that want to speak on this item? Please raise your hand at this time. I believe you want to speak at this time? Yep. So this will be our last speaker on this item before we go to council deliberations.
Hi, my name is Nancy Carlson, and in 1992 or 93, with the help of the city, the RNS 12 zone was enacted to stabilize our neighborhood. In the ensuing years, the city worked with 6 other neighborhoods to also stabilize their neighborhoods. This zone has been very successful, providing thriving, popular neighborhoods. When our neighborhood passed this zone, we understood this would protect our neighborhood from out-of-scale development, which was our goal. The historic and conservation zones deal with exterior modifications. Although these are worthwhile objectives, we were concerned only with the out-of-scale development. To hear the planning department say that in order to protect yourselves, you have to have the zoning laws, and then you have to be in a conservation district, or you have to be in a historic district, brings to my question is, are our zoning laws not enough to protect people who buy homes in any zone in the city? Do we have to keep adding things to protect ourselves? For 30 years, the development that occurred in my neighborhood honored the 1, 1.5, 2.5 story height. But in the last 2 years, it has come to our attention that some developers are interested in building 35 feet, 3.5 story houses. These are truly out of scale with our existing housing stock. Therefore, I am asking for a modification of the height requirement to 27 feet. I hope the city will once more help us to maintain what has been a successful, thriving neighborhood for decades. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, council, we're going to go to council deliberations, but before I close the public hearing, so this one is a little tricky because the item before us is reduction of the maximal allowable height from 35 to 27, but the motion that was made at the P&Z meeting on October 18th was to maintain the 35-foot height maximum. So I asked the question before I close that public hearing if we're inclined to vote with P&Z. So P&Z voted to maintain the maximum, the current maximum 35-foot height. So if you're inclined to vote with P&Z with that 35-foot height, then at this point, I know it's confusing.
No, you're saying that 35-foot intact.
Yes, yes, as it is currently. So that's what I want to know if we're gonna if we're inclined to vote with P&Z. Okay.
I'm unsure.
Not sure. Okay. So I don't know that I saw enough votes to even get a majority on either side.
But do we have to have enough vote right away to
We just have to be inclined. I think
If like at least 2 people are not inclined, is that not enough to go and discuss it?
No, we need, at this point, we're looking for an informal consensus, not a vote, but at least 4, whether the consensus of the council as a whole, 4 out of 7 of you, are inclined to vote in favor of P&Z's recommendation, which is to leave it at 35. If you're not, that's fine. We just have to defer and go ahead and have a consult with P&Z. If you are okay with 35 feet as is, then let the mayor know, and we'll move on with the vote, or move on with the discussion, sorry.
Okay.
I would like to have a consult.
I think I agree. A consult with PNZ in this would be, I would be amenable to that.
Okay.
They weren't a majority vote.
Yeah.
All right. So we are not going to close the public hearing. And then we haven't made a motion for first consideration. So at this point, we don't even need a motion for deferral. Or
Well, yeah, we do need a motion to defer to have the consult. And,
Okay.
And we
All
would, we normally, Kelly, we normally pick a date ahead of time, or do we just schedule it? I'm trying to recall. We probably
Typically try to do it at the next meeting
Yeah.
if P&Z is available.
Right, so that would be the December 12th meeting.
All right. Could I get a motion to defer, please?
I would a motion to defer, Ms. Sala.
Second, Taylor.
Moved by Saleh, seconded by Taylor. Council discussion. And again, I would just ask that we hold any substantive discussion until we meet with P&Z, and then when we come back.
Sound very good.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Actually, can I?
Harmson?
Oh, 1 second, I'm sorry.
Sorry. This is not substantive towards the situation at hand. I guess I just want to point out, unfortunately, it's a side note of note. Don't worry, it's not about P&Z per se. It's just, it has to do with the tenor of local disagreements. And in reading this copious and intense, and rightfully so, intense debate, and the passion of the neighborhood, and to be doing it through a mechanism that is quite literally cut and dry. It is zoning. It is something that will be made into this is how future buildings are apportioned. I get all of that, but I'm very discomforted actually by the tenor of disagreement. I feel that there has been, at heart, the disagreement has between, say, staff and between passionate, very well-informed residents. At times has really, to me, read that it's kind of denigrating the professionalism of staff, that they're looking to cut corners, that there's a disregard or there's laziness. And in a larger perspective, there is so much distrust of government all around, large, international, state. And the only place really that we're able to get things done, and is it everything? No. But where we can actually affect a lot of change is at a local level. And this is exactly how it's supposed to work. We have disagreements, we have conversations, but I guess I'm just unsettled by where some of that creep is coming in, that's saying that somehow staff is not doing the job that they're supposed to do. We may not like what they say, but I don't think that it also serves anyone well to be dismissive of their perspectives in the same way that it's not right of us to be dismissive of what residents are saying. So I just wanted to point that out, and it's not about P&Z about this issue. It's rather the way in which this conversation has started to take some shape, and it struck me today in an uncomfortable way as I read through the entire packet. And I understand there's a lot of passion, but I'm not okay with the tenor, the undertone that I got that was dismissive of staff and the work that they've put into this. So I just wanted to say that.
Roll call, please.
Harmson?
Just to remind me, a yes vote is
to
for
defer.
deferral to get the.
Yes, we're a motion to defer. Yes is to defer.
Want to make sure. Yes.
Good question. Sully?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to accept further correspondence?
So moved, Harmson.
Second, Sally.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. We are on to item number 10B, zoning code amendment encouraging accessory dwelling units to improve housing choice, supply, and affordability. Ordinance amending Title 14 zoning code to improve housing choice, increase housing supply, and encourage housing affordability by adjusting standards for accessory apartments. This is second consideration. Staff is requesting expedited action.
Mr. Mayor, I move that the rule requiring that ordinances must be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended, that the second consideration and vote be waived, and that the ordinance be voted on for final passage at this time.
Moved by Taylor,
Second.
seconded by Salee. And anyone from the public like to address this topic? Seeing no one in public or online. If you're online, just a reminder, you can raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one in person or online. Council discussion. Roll call, please.
Sully?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to pass and adopt?
So moved. Alter.
Second, Thomas.
Roll call, please.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Sully?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Could I get a motion to accept correspondence?
Move.
So moved. Second?
Moved by Salee, seconded by Burgess. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 11. 11A is American Legion Road, First Avenue Landscaping. Resolution approving project manual and estimate of cost for the construction of the American Legion Road, First Avenue Landscaping Project. Establishing amount of bid security to accompany each bid, directing city clerk to post notice to bidders, and fixing time and place for receipt of bids. I'm going to open the public hearing and welcome Justin.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Justin Harlan. I'm one of the senior civil engineers on staff. Pull up this presentation. So a little bit of the background of this project. These are recent roadway construction projects. The project concept is to provide some natural aesthetic and environmental benefit to the interior of the roundabouts and the streetscape. The planting and landscaping architecture was purposely left out of these roadway or construction projects. What our staff has seen is we've had better luck as a standalone project for landscaping than we have with our construction contractors. This kind of gives us the chance to select a landscape-specific contractor, which we've had good luck with. This is a similar approach to what we've done on the Sycamore Street project with their roundabouts. So the project limits are the First Avenue and Scott roundabout, and then as you move on to American Legion Road, that intersection and roundabout with American Legion and Scott, and then moving towards the east on Taft Avenue. The project includes street trees on American Legion Road. Most of these are located in and around the parkway. There's a variety of plantings on the Scott Boulevard and American Legion Road, the roundabouts in general, and there's also going to be a little bit of grading work involved in those roundabouts. Our Parks and Forestry staff were included in kind of the design of this. They tried to use a variety of species and also tried to figure out a low maintenance solution to some of these species. Locations of public and private utilities were considered. Obviously, we don't want to do plantings where our storm sewer, sanitary sewer, or other private utilities are located. So just as a project timeline, we're holding our public hearing tonight. We'll do our bid letting in December 13th specifically. We'll award on that first meeting in January, looking to start construction in May of '24, and then have a final completion sometime in June of 2024, with a project cost opinion of $205,000. So I'll kind of open up to any questions the council has.
Thanks for presenting this and kind of giving us the picture of what it could look like. I'm not sure if that's the final design or not.
These are actually pictures from our final design documents. So
Yeah, so just the tall trees.
we can go back to.
I'm just wondering about sight when you're going around this roundabout in a way. Does that have any concerns?
So it is purposeful. Sometimes driver comfort, if you see headlights driving at you through the roundabout, can kind of deter or scare some drivers. So sightline is an issue with these. It also deters large trucks or other vehicles, for that matter, for going through the center of the roundabout.
Okay.
What is that?
Understood. Thank you.
That's interesting.
Look nice.
Thank you, council.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you. All right, anyone from the public like to discuss this topic? If you're online, please raise your hand, in virtual hand. Anyone in public or in council chambers? Seeing no one? I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved, Burgess.
Second, Alter.
Council discussion.
Well, it'll be nice to see the bones of this project landscaped to finish off the project.
Roll call, please.
Thomas?
Yes.
Alter?
Yes.
Burgess?
Yes.
Harmson?
Yes.
Sully?
Yes.
Taylor?
Yes.
Teague?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. Item number 11B is City Park Festival Stage Improvements. Resolution approving project manual and estimate of cost for the construction of the City Park Festival Stage Improvements Project. Establishing amount of bid security to accompany each bid. Directing city clerk to post notice to bidders and fixing time and place for receipt of bids. I'm going to open the public hearing. And all right, welcome, Julie.
Good evening. Julie Seidel-Johnson, Director of Parks and Recreation, here to talk to you about this project. This is really just fixing up the stage for continued use. It provides free performances each summer to the public of Shakespeare plays through Riverside Theater. A lot of substantial work we need to do to keep it operational for years to come. So what it does, this project will improve the access to the crown, so the upper level, and improve some of the lighting. There's a lot of water damage that will be fixed, some electrical, and nothing really exciting. These are all things that just need to be done to keep it standing and keep it operational. $256,000 is the estimated cost. I should mention that Riverside Theater is giving the city $50,000 towards these repairs. Bid letting is December 12th, award on January 2nd, and hope to have the project done this spring before they open their next season next summer. So happy to answer any questions.
It did say start January 2024. What can be done? It's just pure curiosity.
Yeah, that's just getting the contract ready to go as soon as, and some of it is interior work,
Okay.
so it just depends on the timing of the contractor.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
No other questions. Thank you. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If so, if you're online, please raise your virtual hand. And in person, come on up. Welcome. After you sign in, please state your name and city you're from.
Nick Lindsley with Iowa City. I'm an architect at Newman Munson Architects. We worked with the city of Iowa City and Riverside Theater starting last fall to do a study for this project, just understand what was the needed improvements for the space. Went after a grant. The city went after a grant. Get that from the state of Iowa, but with the funds available, we tried to prioritize kind of the main needs for the building, which we deemed to be some of those finishes that Julie was talking about, like some moldy areas where there'd been water leakage as well as safety issues. especially access to the upper crown where all the lighting is. Right now, access to that area is just by this rickety ladder that's kind of tied off to a post. And just being there on site, I would say, it wasn't fun for me doing it. I can't imagine being the one carrying stage lights up that ladder and being up on that unsafe balcony. So I think this is a much needed improvement and it'll really help the space in the future.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address this topic? Seeing no one in person or online, I'm going to close the public hearing. Could I get a motion to approve, please?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Salid, seconded by Alter. Council discussion? Roll call, please.
Teague,
Yes?
Thomas,
Yes.
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Salih,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 11C, Dubuque Street reconstruction between Iowa Avenue and Washington Street. Resolution approving project manual and estimate of cost for the construction of the Dubuque Street reconstruction project. Establishing amount of bid security to accompany each bid. Directing city clerk to post notice to bidders. And fixing time and place for receipt of bids. I'm going to open the public hearing. And welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Aline Dumaki, and I'm a senior engineer in the Public Works Department. Tonight, I'll show you a brief presentation regarding the Dubuque Street reconstruction project, upcoming in 2024.
Would you please speak to the microphone, please?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we might need to turn up the volume a little bit. I've been hearing, it's not just you.
This project was designed by FOT Infrastructure and Environment Engineers and Genius Landscape Architects, with active involvement of the city engineering staff, as well as the leadership of Iowa City Downtown District and Summer of the Arts. This project will be located in the center of downtown Iowa City between Iowa Avenue and Washington Street. As part of downtown streetscape master plan, this project will create a unified pedestrian-friendly road section and a memorable entrance to the heart of the city, which follows improvements previously made on Washington Street and pedestrian mall projects. Dubuque Street reconstruction project will also replace critical public infrastructure that is in poor condition, as you will see in the following slides. As you can see here, the pavement on this city block shows moderate joint deteriorations and random cracks, which require annual maintenance to prevent accelerated deterioration and pedestrian trip hazards. Of note, this street pavement was constructed in the early 1980s and is approximately 40 years old. As you can see in this slide, the alley pavement is in very poor condition due to significant deterioration. The uneven surface creates trip hazards and ultimately makes it difficult for pedestrians to utilize the alley. Additionally, because of its current condition, no preventative maintenance is being performed aside from filling potholes as needed. Constructed in the late 1990s, the sidewalk pavement has non-ADA compliant curb ramps and cross slopes, as well as faulted joints causing potential trip hazards. There are structural concerns not only above ground but underground as well. Unfortunately, several portions of the sanitary sewer main contain large longitudinal cracking and thus poses a risk of sewer collapse. Similarly, there are several locations where the storm sewer main contains offset joints and major cracks. This has been caused by both private utility hits and roof drain taps. Additionally, many of the power outlets are either damaged or inoperable. Existing electrical circuits need to be upgraded to accommodate special events and vendors. Last but not least, the street lighting is old and outdated. Because of its age, replacement fixtures, poles, and globes are no longer available. This project generally includes the reconstruction of Dubuque Street between Iowa Avenue and Washington Street, the reconstruction of a small section of Iowa Avenue pavement that shows signs of settlement, and also the reconstruction of the alley between Dubuque Street and Lynn Street. Other improvements include major utility upgrades, such as a new 12-inch water main, a new sanitary and storm sewer system, a new ADA-compliant sidewalk and curb ramps, a new pedestrian roadway and over-the-roadway lighting system. Additionally, there will be new streetscape features such as planters, limestone blocks, bicycle racks, litter receptacles, removable bollards, and a wayfinding kiosk. This project will be completed in 2 main stages. The first stage involves the reconstruction of the roadway along Dubuque Street and a small portion of Iowa Avenue, as seen here in red. The second stage involves the reconstruction of the sidewalks and the alleyway, as indicated in blue. Access to businesses will be maintained throughout the project. However, there may be short periods of time when sidewalks in front of entrances will need to be replaced. The city will work closely with each and every business or property owner to coordinate when this work can be completed so we can minimize any impacts as much as reasonably possible. In the following slide, I will talk a little bit about the concept development. On May 26, 2022, we held our first public information meeting in open house format, in which we shared exhibits illustrating the schematic design as well as proposed alternatives. Based on feedback received from stakeholders, our design team was able to narrow down alternatives and start working towards a final concept. On January 23rd, 2023, we held our second public information meeting in virtual format, in which participating stakeholders were offered a first glance at chosen design. Subsequent meetings with property and business owners were held in private, one-on-one basis so that sensitive information and individual concerns could be addressed with confidentiality and personalized attention. This is the plan view showing the overall proposed improvements in this block. This project will narrow the roadway, creating a more pedestrian-friendly environment and allowing for an enhanced retail areas. In the following slides, I will show you the concept preview of the future improvements. While proposed improvements include street elements similar to ones already existing on Washington Street, such as pedestrian and roadway lighting and at-grade planters, this project also includes new elements such as removable bollards and catenary lighting. I would like to mention that the bollards shown in these renderings are only meant to showcase their functionality, and that Dubuque Street will remain open to traffic except on rare occasions during special events, such as street festivals, when it would be temporarily closed to vehicular traffic. Additionally, this project will include new aesthetic and functional elements, such as beautiful limestone blocks at planters, color-changing catenary lighting, power outlets for vendors and events, benches, bicycle racks, and litter receptacles. This is a rendering of the corner of Dubuque Street and Iowa Avenue looking south. Again, the bollards shown here are just meant to show their functionality. Here we have a street view level rendering, so you can see what the future sidewalk elements will entail. Here we have a nighttime render of how the street will look like at night around Christmas holidays, for example, after the project is completed. The anticipated schedule is as follows. Construction is scheduled to start March 25th, 2024, with anticipated completion on August 23rd, 2024. The estimated cost of construction is $3.75 million. And with this, I would like to thank you so much for your time, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
I just have one clarifying question because I didn't quite hear it. Did you say that the Dubuque is going to be narrowed or that it would not be narrowed? For vehicular traffic.
We will have two 11-foot lanes. Currently, we have at the north end at Iowa Avenue is pretty wide open. We have 50-foot width.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be constructing a narrowing similar to the one at Washington intersection. And we will have basically two 11-foot lanes and two 9-foot wide parking lanes on each side.
Thanks.
Sure.
Can you go back to the where you have two kind of like section, utility upgrade and another section? Yeah, this one, New Pearson Road. Do you have really estimation cost for each one, or you don't have breakdown of that?
We do have a breakdown that's in the engineer's estimate.
Yeah, but you don't know the major utility upgrade would cost us how much?
I don't have an exact breakdown, but I can provide that to you.
Thank you.
Generally, the utility upgrades require the removal of the street, so you can't really do one without the other.
Yeah,
you could do the streets without the utilities generally, but not the other way.
No, because it will be continue of the street, but if we get to the street landscaping, like after we done the street, after that we do another landscaping like plant and all this.
So the question would be, is all the landscaping in this contract, or will there be any additional landscaping like we saw on the American Legion and First Avenue?
Yes, landscaping is included in this contract.
Okay.
And we'll have new plantings and everything else that it entails.
Thank you.
And then, so if I'm looking at this right, it looks like a 6-month project?
Yes, that is correct. It will be bid competitively, and we'll have to finish this project before the start of the football season. And August 23rd is the deadline for substantial completion, when pretty much all work should be completed except for minor landscaping items such as plantings. So we expect that the road and sidewalk will be open to traffic by then.
I know you had mentioned something about working with businesses to help with traffic. Could you speak a little bit more about that? Like, I'm thinking back to the last project and the fencing and stuff like that.
Right. So I mentioned that we will work with businesses to coordinate when work can be done in front of their doorways. During the construction, Dubuque Street will be closed completely, closed to vehicular traffic, and pedestrian traffic will be maintained on both sides. We'll maintain an 8-foot wide walkway while the work is being done in the street. Once the work in the street is being completed, then the contractor will be able to move on to the sidewalk while maintaining some sort of temporary access ramps to businesses. Only when the sidewalk in front of their opening needs to be replaced, then we will coordinate with the property or business owner the best time to perform that work.
And how will that work with, like, I think there's a couple of businesses that open off onto the alley when it gets to that point? Same thing, or?
When it gets to the alley, it will be a little bit difficult because we have certain buildings that have only access through the alley. For example, the parking at Studio 21, we will work with them and find different ways to accommodate parking and access as needed.
Thank you.
Questions about the Sidewalk Cafe. So I guess like future beyond the construction, but during the construction, what's going to happen to those sidewalk cafes for next year specifically?
Very good question. Thank you. For next year, if we are going through with construction, we are planning on waiving the sidewalk cafe fees for next year, and we're hoping that the project will go through and resume the fees next year after that.
So people will still be able to have access or use their sidewalk cafe?
Ron Konecki, Public Works Director. So as we go to award this project, we'll have a resolution that the council will have to waive those fees for the areas directly impacted by construction for this next year. As construction finishes up, they will be able to set up their cafes, but at the beginning of the year, they won't be able to have their cafes out until after the construction's done in front of their businesses.
Okay. And then after that, sidewalk cafes will go as normal for the entire downtown.
Correct. And what you'll see with the reconstruction and the layout of the new Dubuque streetscape, those businesses that now have street cafes will no longer have those. So they'll be all on the sidewalks instead of being out in those parking areas.
Great. And ADA, of course, compliance with the sidewalk, with the cafe there, all that's being considered, of course.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Hearing no other questions, thank you.
Sure.
All right. Anyone from the public like to address this topic? If you're in person, please raise your hand. If you're online, raise your virtual hand. Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved. Alter.
Second, Burgess.
Council discussion.
Hope for good weather throughout.
We know it'll be disruptive and it'll be hard, but it's going to be an amazing improvement when it's done.
Absolutely.
Shop small, shop local.
Yes.
In spite the inconvenience.
Roll call, please.
Alter,
Yes.
Burgess,
Yes.
Harmson,
Yes.
Sully,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0. Item number 11 is Ad Hoc Truth and Reconciliation Commission presentation. This is a presentation on Phase 1 from the Ad Hoc Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and this presentation is being given by our TRC members, and we see our Chair, Chastity Dillard. Welcome.
Hi. I'm not sure if, okay, is it on here? I don't know where. Okay, well, hi everyone. Again, my name is Chastity Dillard. I am currently serving as the chair of the Ad Hoc Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and this is?
Yes, Lauren Merritt, and I'm vice chair.
If you all would give me some grace and patience, because I am very nervous right now, but I'm also excited to be here to share our progress report with you all. So I don't know if this is the protocol, but if you do have questions while I'm going through this, please ask them. Sorry.
You're good.
I didn't know that worked like that. Awesome. So as you can see, it's been about 6 months since we first talked with you all. And so first, I want to just thank you all for giving us the opportunity to move forward on our tasks for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. I want to focus on the logo here that we put together. We really, when we were coming together about to do this work, we wanted to choose a logo that represented hope. One of our commissioners really loved from childhood Superman, and really wanted to find a way that we can make that uniquely ours. So this is the logo we've created, and this is how we want to just share with the community our goal of pursuing hope and truth in this community, bold truth. And so just a reminder, this is the volunteers and the people in this community that have stepped up to take on these tasks. We have several in the room. I want you to raise your hand. And then several that unfortunately weren't able to join us tonight. We're going to go through just all the deliverables we've already talked about. We're going to talk about. But what we've done in the last 3 months since we hired and were able to implement our facilitator plan. We've really focused on education and just learning as much as possible in these first 3 months so that we can make sure that we can eventually become the experts that can help deliver this process to our community. And I'm going to invite Lauren to come up here just in case I'm forgetting anything. But just a reminder that the TRC is charged with fact-finding, truth-telling, and reconciliation. And so the first thing that we did with our facilitator team, which a reminder consists of 4 different partners. One is Kearns and West, another is Think Peace, another is our Native partners, and then our local healing partners team. They all comprise a group of individuals who have more than have an experience with about 20 different TRCs throughout the world. And so we started off with a 3-day facilitator training where they came in and really just set the tone of what truth and reconciliation means throughout the world and in our country. Truth and reconciliation is unique to Iowa, but it's also unique to the Midwest in this area, and it's we are able to set the tone and shape how we're moving forward with this. Okay. So we did 3 days, 4 hours, learned about all different kinds of things within that area. And then the next, one of the other trainings that we jumped into was fact-finding. How do we, as a community, want to tell the truth? Well, first we have to find the facts. And so we all sat together with a 4-hour training with one of our facilitators to just dive in what is important in this community. We wanted to really talk about what does fact-finding mean to us and what the community, what it means to the community. We had community members come and join us with this conversation as well, just to talk about the standards about truth and reconciliation.
And one thing about fact-finding, there's an aspect of what's happened in the nation, what's happened in the world, and how it can apply to Iowa City. And then there's also going to be a fact-finding that's local. It's like specific to Iowa City, you know, and it gave us an example of how we can go to the community, how can we ask what is important to you, what do we need to find out for you, what are the resources that we have access to get that information. And this was part of the training that we were getting.
So we also came up with several different topics that we believed, along with some of the community members, would be the most important topics to really explore, beginning with housing, health, education, public safety, economic development, environmental justice, namings, and remembrance. Just how can we best uncover the truths in our community? The next deliverable is we did strategic doing sessions. We did 3 of them. And we started off by just pondering how do we guide the community and created our North Star framing question. And it reads, how can we strategically build capacity and amplify the voices of BIPOC and ethnically oppressed peoples in order to express their truths, all while addressing historical oppression, genocide, racism, and the need to deconstruct colonial systems, ultimately creating foundations for safer spaces for healing and empowerment. I want to back up and say all the different elements that we've been working on in the last 3 months have also been exploratory. How can we find the right system to build the perfect model for Iowa City? And so when we went into strategic doing, we wanted to see how can we use this possibly for reconciliation, or how can we use this for truth telling? So we went into this question and into the 2 meetings. to try to use this question to frame that as we're engaging with the community further.
And one thing I want to talk about, we've all done strategic planning. We can kind of have an idea of what that is, and how many times we planned something and it just died. It never went anywhere. And one thing about the strategic doing is actually it's a different process where you look at the people you have, the resources that are available to us, who can come to the table and help us go forward with what's important. And like I said, the examples that we were talking about, housing, education, things that are critical to Iowa City and important to Iowa City. And we have a plethora of resources available to us that we want to bring them on board, help this community, and be stronger. And the training was talking about how do we go about doing this in a way that it doesn't just fall to the backside, we actually can go forward step by step and have people held accountable to make sure that it becomes a success.
So we did these trainings in September. We had 23 attendees with facilitators, and we were able to come up with 3 Pathfinder projects. And the beauty of this is we were engaging with other community members. And so after this test, this exploratory option with strategic doing, we, alongside other members of the community, went out and tried to figure out how we can get this done. And so all 3 of these groups have been meeting to try to figure out how we can move forward with this. There were a couple other ideas that we can circle back to at any time because we control the process in that way. And so these are, this was just a test. This is something that we are hoping to expand upon or adjust in a way for the model that is going to best fit the TRC for Iowa City. And then the third strategic doing session was done in all Spanish to give Spanish speakers an opportunity to communicate in their own language and be able to just, how do I say this?
We'll be able to engage.
Yes. Just be able to engage and be able to find Pathfinder projects that really resonate with them and not be limited by language is what I'm trying to say. And then another deliverable is we did a 2-day facilitator training with our Think Peace partners who are an authority on truth-telling throughout the world. And they really came in and sat with us and talked about different types of truth-telling experiments that have happened for decades. We've learned about Greensboro. We've learned about truth-telling in Peru. We've learned about the truth-telling that's happening in Canada. We've learned about South Africa and many, many, many more.
There were examples that were both municipalities. There's ones that also were not necessarily structured under municipality, but still were very effective with engaging the community, bringing all the parties together, and helping to go towards a resolution and a reconciliation. So we understand we are part of, I guess, the city of Iowa City. However, a lot of times, people aren't necessarily going to be comfortable dealing with the city, so we want to work with communities, neighborhoods, and figure out how they can also help themselves, and we can also help guide them to come to the truths and help with the healing and reconciliation.
So looking ahead, we have jam-packed the last 3 months with all these activities, and we're looking for the next steps, which is phase 2. And we're going to focus on what we've learned to transform into truth-telling event readiness, learning more with Eduardo Gonzalez from Think Peace on how we can effectively implement some truth-telling sessions throughout our community. We're going to continue working with Kearns and West, who is leading the fact-finding and searching right now, and diving into all those topics I mentioned previously, and just how we can gather all the knowledge, but how we also need to come back and just kind of sift through it and pick and choose what this community is needing to uncover as far as truths. We are working with our Native and healing partners to develop healing circle trainings within the community, and also develop an Iowa-based healing circle curriculum that can be used throughout this area, if not the whole state. That would really just invite people to find ways of reconciliation, especially when it comes to racial injustice.
One thing I want to stress too is that, yeah, we did a lot in the last 3 months and with helping to train us. And this training is not going to just stop now when it goes into phase 2. It's going to be a continuing process. And also it's going to allow us to bring more of the community in so that they also can be getting some of the more of the education. And it's kind of hard to bring everybody in a very short amount of time, as we were like, you know, on a tight calendar. But now going into phase 2, but we're also going to be continuing a lot of the work that was from phase 1, you know, going on with the education and spreading on that education.
Another big piece that we're really focused on is really community engagement. We're calling them people test projects, where we want to take what we've learned and implement them on within events that are already going on in our community, events that the city is already investing in as well. The Truth Giving Festival, MLK Breakfast, Black Educators Work Group, Civic Leadership Program, Housing Initiative, Black Business Wealth, the Film of Iowa City's TRC, Indigenous Peoples Day, and more. And so we're opening up to the public, the community, to just continue to let us know what they want us to, where they want us to be, and how we can be collaborative in that way.
And we know that the city has had this budget that's going on, and I want to know that we have obviously come across projects that the city can engage in, and would fall under the, I guess, yeah, sorry. But, and as we engage more with the community and get into the neighborhoods, we'll be able to hopefully come up with some other projects that we can test and see how it fits and how we can, I guess, best fulfill their needs.
And then further recommendations, we'll continue with our facilitation team for our TRC. We'll continue to discuss and reflect our trainings, and just moving on. Our facilitator team is working alongside with us so that we are best prepared by the end of their contract, so that we can implement the best model for Iowa City, or the first of many test models for Iowa City. And so with that, I think that's all we have. If there's any questions, we'd love to answer.
Great.
I have one. And this has to do, it's not too many slides before that, but you were talking about through phase 2. Actually, I've got 2 questions, both of which deal with phase 1. One was, it was on, yes, truth-telling event readiness, ground truthing and fact-finding. Can you explain a little bit more about what that is? And is that something that's focused still on the TRC receiving truth-telling readiness? Or is it for the community?
I would say that is for the community. How do we make sure that we're taking care of whoever is willing to come and tell the truth in whatever model that we decide is best as a community, to interact with everyone. We don't want to harm anyone as they're telling their truths. And we are still, our facilitators are working with city staff and working with us to figure out the best way to gather this information so that people feel very safe and comfortable as we move forward.
So the information that you're gathering, or sorry.
Did I?
No, it's brain glitches. That the information gathering that the staff is helping you with is to help create about how to create a safe space?
Yes, so since, as you all know, we are a part of a city governmental entity, it's very difficult to keep people safe in a space where we're in public forum. So how can we do that in the right way, and what ways can we, what mediums can we do for the right people? I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it actually that completely clarified. And so in some ways, my second question this might be in process for you, but I don't need in the weeds, but I'm very, very interested in finding out how are you going to reach out to the community? How do you know that you're, because I think it is going to take the outreach piece. It's not just, as you know, put a flyer up. I mean, you're going to have to engage. So I just am curious about kinds of conversations at a high level that you've had that would help that endeavor.
So we already have some actually commissioners who are part of some of these people test projects that we've listed. We have commissioners that already have engaged and have had in-depth conversations with other areas, especially the MLK breakfast. We have connections in the community, and we want to continue to engage with the people that have already reached out to us. We're reaching out to them as well to further to just further be out there. We want to be more visible. We have learned a lot, and we are definitely ready to go out into the community and just talk to people more and get their opinions and get their knowledge on how we can work together to move forward. So how we're going to do that is we're just going to go out there. We had the Truth Giving Festival. A few of us were there this past a couple weeks ago. So, yeah.
There's a lot of networking. Basically, like I said, we have a lot of people who have contacts in different areas, some more than others, that now that we've gotten some guidance as to these processes and actually being able, even with some of the strategic doing and whatever else, and sitting down on a table, we realize just how much information that we all already have. And I would say even in the last month and a half, a lot more people have been coming to us. Now the word's getting out a little bit more. And actually, one of the things that we're hoping to plan is more of the small group, neighborhood, community meetings, reaching out to them, giving an area where they can come to us in their neighborhoods, where they are. We can't expect that they're always going to come here when we have our little meetings. That's not going to happen. So it's a matter of targeting particular areas that we already know, people who've already reached out to us, and then going out there to do that. Basically, go on foot. That's how it's going to work. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, I have a follow-up question. Just what Megan, like in the same line that was Megan is talking about. What is it? It's not here. Truth telling. What it was?
The ground truthing, or
the one that for like future.
The phase 2 one.
Yeah, truth telling. What do you mean by that? Do you going to identify like certain thing that you need the people to come and tell the truth about it, or what happened to them? I really don't understand exactly what
people already have things they want to say. They've already come to us, talked about issues that they've experienced. When we talk about the truth telling, it's them actually voicing their experience and what had happened. That's when they talk about sort of the truth telling.
But how they will just come and tell you about something happened to them? How do they know about you so they can come and just start speaking? They know that maybe you are actually collecting data about what's going on, but you are not providing solution immediately to that person to come forward and talk about that. Am I right?
Yeah, it's not in our charges to provide the solution.
But you want the people, you want to hear from the people what their experience is, what the thing that they harm them, how they feel about the treatment in this community or anything else. How the people will know what topic they can come to you to talk to you about.
So I appreciate that question because it's a great question, right? How are we going to get people to come talk to us, right? How are they going to trust us? And that's what we have spent the last 3 months learning. How do we work together with the community and bring this model? We had to first come together to understand what truth telling was, what it is and what it can be, and what we found is it can be whatever we make it. And so what we have been doing is we have several people that aren't on the commission that have already joined us like they're always coming, that have tons of people that they're ready to bring to us, as long as we have that safe model for them. So when we're ready to implement that model, working hand in hand with that, whatever that looks like, we're still in the beginning process, we're not there yet. We're going to be able to sit down with the right people. I mean, this is gonna be a process. We're not gonna expect people to come into this room and tell us their truths. That would be uncomfortable. We're going to sit and have personal conversations with people and ask them questions about themselves. Tell us, what have you been through? Would you want to share it to the whole world? When we go back and look at our charges, it doesn't have to be just people coming and testifying. We've learned that that is a type of truth-telling, but that's not the only truth-telling. It can be a play, it can be spoken word, it can be art, it can be whatever people want. We have just been learning to see what that could be.
Yeah, I just mean like it will be like kind of event. You have not planned it yet, though, right?
No.
Yeah, you are in the process of planning how you're gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's great to know. I thought maybe you already have planned it, but yeah, it will be really interesting to know how the people, how, for example, I know where to come to you, and is this an office? Is this like you're gonna come to us and ask us, or like really clear, programs for that. So that's number one. Number two, talking about communication and outreach. If you went back, you skipped through some pictures very quick. I was like really interesting to see.
Which
You,
one?
after you said you have, you did something with the Latinos.
Let me find it.
I like that picture. So even though, yeah. This here, and what's this?
No,
Like,
it's
go
not
back.
that one. Is it this one? Yes.
No, go back. Go forward, maybe. This is the Latino, and after that, there is one else.
Oh, after that, this one?
Keep going.
No, this one.
Yes.
What's this?
This,
I
I think this is an example of a truth
Of
telling.
another place where I did similar thing. That's interesting. Yeah, just speaking about like reaching out to the community, you did the whole phase one. You finished from phase one, right? And you're giving us a report. And how many languages did you do during that time? Because I see only Latinos here. That like a project done with Latino in their language, which is great. But my question, how many languages you have done?
I mean, how many languages? I mean, go ahead. Go ahead.
If we'd had the resources, we would have liked to have had many more, to be honest. But part of it was under the amount of the time period and what we had access. That was what we had at the time. However, we've already talked about, there's many in the community that different languages that are here, and that's one of the things we want to do is try to figure out how can we get translators to be able to talk to the people in their own native language. It's part of the planning and how can we use that for Iowa City, but we didn't mean to limit it to just that. It was just what was available at that very time period, but we've already expressed that we need many more.
Yeah, you're doing a good job. I didn't say anything about it, and I'm glad that I see Latinos. But if you are doing something for the whole, it have to be for the whole community. You finish the whole phase one without seeing French-speaking people, without seeing Arabic-speaking people you reach out to. I will be really interesting. I belong to many organizations in the community, with immigrant community. I will be really interesting to see who did you speak to beside the Latinos and African American?
So, I mean, I appreciate that you're just looking at our photos and seeing that, but we actually have spoken to other groups of people that have spoken different languages. We have a person who represents the African community that comes to every meeting every week. We do have people that we are working hard to, within the resources that we have, within 3 months, which is 90 days, to try to squeeze in a bunch of information that we're also learning at the same time. time. So we absolutely want to engage more people. We had lots of conversations about it in a couple of our meetings, and it's just going to take time. I don't believe anyone can expect all of this to happen in 3 months when it took about 3 years to get here. And we are very excited about the success we have now and are looking forward to the future. I would love to invite one of my commissioners, Chad, to just speak a little bit more on that, because he can give a little bit more context.
Thank you very much. I wanted to be able to answer a couple of the questions that you had. The training process was really designed for us to test things. It wasn't designed for us to put things in action. We weren't quite sure, again, what the model was going to look like, so the goal was to test it. In the testing, we're testing the system to see if the actual system works and how the system should be put together. Now, we did do a test with a group that, again, was not, that was Spanish speaking, but that was just in essence for the test. So that was kind of one of the main purposes of that. The second piece gets into the engagement piece. There are many things that we can't do as a part of the city that makes it very difficult for people to be able to communicate or tell their truth. They may tell their truth, but then it may be in a public setting, and they may get upset, or they may get concerned, or they may be in essence used against them. What we were taught in the model is that you need to have these conversations in a very confidential manner, and then to select individuals that in essence can be done from a public perspective. What this meant for us is that we need to work with organizations to be able to have this versus it necessarily being resided within us as a group. So the test that we want to do in the future is not only making sure we work well with the system, but also what we want to do is we want to make sure that we work with the community, like NAACP or other organizations, where we can partner with them in order to do this truth-telling, to be able to share the fact-finding. And then I want to address one other issue that you raised. Within the overall process of what we're trying to, again, put together, it is really trying to put a puzzle together and put all of the pieces together. So we've been really in the process of doing that. So we've been spending a lot of hours of putting these pieces together to make sure that everything, in essence, works. So the phase 2 allows us to be able to move forward. It allows us to make sure we have our system and make sure that we allow us to have a way that we're going to engage with the community in such a way. And then, in essence, what things would be important. We found that some communities may be more engaged, more interested in the fact-finding. Some may be more interested in the truth-telling, telling their story. Some may be more interested in reconciliation. But that's going to be by the group. If we can find the passion of the individuals, they will come to us. So we can't just open it up and say, come to us, we're going to have this general conversation. We have to say, we're going to have a conversation around housing. And within housing, this is what we found out from a fact-finding perspective. Now we want you to come to us to tell us your truth as relates to housing. Then once we have that, once we put in again healing circles, then we can even talk about then what does resolution and how do we in essence resolve those issues. So the way you find the people is you find them through the passion, not the passion of what they do for work, but what really moves their soul. And the last thing, we gave an example of an individual, as I said, that he works in Iowa City, he plays in Iowa City, but he lives in Cedar Rapids. And the reason he lives in Cedar Rapids is because he cannot afford to live in Iowa City. Now, this is a person that has 2 degrees, but he also has 6-digit debt when it comes to his education. And so if this is the type of individual that we want that's highly educated, that's highly motivated, that loves to be in the environment and the city, how do we in essence get him to be engaged? Now, what we did was we found that we got him engaged through what his knowledge was. His knowledge was around employment, but what was really important to him was housing. It was really around how can he, in essence, build a life here. So passion is how we ultimately get to people, but you have to set up the system in such a way that people can then see themselves in what we're working on, and then they will come and then have those conversations.
I think you have a good plan, but my concern in all this is to reach out to everyone. this is not for sale. If you are dealing with BIPOC community in this community consider everyone who are, whether immigrants, people of color, whether they are born here or they come from somewhere else. So, and also reach the people where they are. You just said we would like to go to the people where they are. I think you said that, which is amazing, because they are not going to come to this setting. As you said, that's completely fact. So reach out to them and, do this with them where they are at. Go to association and do this inside their association center, so you can get a lot of feedback from different perspectives. That's all I want to see, because I'm seeing all this repeated the same people I can tell in some pictures. I'm not judge you by the picture, by the way, but I want just to see more outreach, as Megan said, to the whole community, because this is a unique opportunity for us to engage everyone. We're not gonna find this after this end or maybe over, but this is a new time. Please reach out to everyone.
And this is just a suggestion, but within your sort of list of potential and or locked-in events, don't forget the ones that already exist too. I mean, you listed those out, but I'm talking about the more, I don't know, that are offered all the time. Summer of the Arts, like Music in the Neighborhoods, or Music on the Move, the neighborhood park nights out during the summer, the diversity market, things that are long-standing, and that's a way too to go to different neighborhoods and whatnot, and it's, just to have that presence, and I know that there's a lot of people who take advantage of that and put up, the proverbial card table and are talk to me about blah, 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 and it's that's one of those ways where it's you going to where the people are, and I know that that's not exhaustive by any stretch, nor is it meant to, but it just struck me because these are they're built in. People want to go there for a certain reason, but then it is community, it is neighborhood, and then there are ways to be able to connect with people within those neighborhoods. So.
Just kind of wondering about phase 2. If I'm looking at a couple of different things, but phase 2 goes until March, is that right? From now till March? What kinds of things, I know you've got some stuff up there, but in a practical sense, we'll probably get another report in March or April or something like that?
Yes.
What kinds of things should we expect to hear at that time, and what will happen between sort of now and then?
We were hoping by the end of phase 2 that we'll be able to report to you a successful pilot of the models that we are working to put together. That's what we're hoping to showcase with you and implement. And also to return back to all of you that we have engaged a better majority of the community and have gotten that implemented into our model research.
Amazing.
Do you have an idea for, like you said, successful pilots? So actually be running some of these things that you have been training towards, right?
Yeah, so we want to, hopefully we have already done at least one truth telling session. We will have data gathered from at least some of the fact-finding topics that I already mentioned. And we will have navigated with our Native partners on how to effectively put that circles training out. That is what we're hoping to come back and share with you all.
What do you mean by the Native partner?
So the Native partners are working on circles trainings. They're working on a model to be used by the TRC as a form of reconciliation using circles. I don't think I'm explaining it right. Go ahead.
I mean, Native partners are one of the facilitators.
One of the facilitators that they help you.
Yeah, and they're the ones that have experience with, the healing circles and some truth telling and whatever else. And they're going to help us with, I guess, as I see it, it's there's a template,
Yes.
and that we are going to test, one of the models, whatever else, and so that by the end of our, I guess, the 4 months, this will be able to be applied to whatever community, whatever topic, whatever else, and of course have the ability to tailor it specifically to that. There's nothing's going to be the same thing to be used in every community, every topic. It can't. But we're going to be at least have the platform structured in a way that, okay, here this is, we can get some information from people, tailor it to what they need, and they can go forward. And in these 4 months, we're going to at least have, at least one, if not two, from beginning to end, and you have to see the example of the results. So that is
Does
the
that
plan.
answer the question?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess, did that answer your question?
Oh, yeah. Just
Okay,
kind of
okay.
wanted to know when we hear next, like what to expect and what'll be happening and how far along you expect to be. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
And I also had to see exactly what it says in the contract, too, with what the expectation was for the end of the phase 2. That part, I'm not quite sure, but yeah.
Yeah.
Right, juggling multiple documents on my laptop and stuff too, and trying to find all the relevant materials.
Thank you all. Is there other questions?
We'll get to council deliberations, but any other questions for our TRC members?
No, great job.
Thank you all. We're going to open it up to the public who want to have a comment on this. Anyone in public raise your hand if you want to comment on this? And if you're online, please raise your hand, your virtual hand. Yep, welcome. There is a sign-in sheet here at the desk, so we'll ask you to sign in and then give us your name and city you're from. And you'll be granted up to 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you very much, Mayor and the Council. My name is Amos Kichi, and I'm an immigrant from Kenya. I've been staying in Iowa City for 33 years. I came here as a student. I also belong to the African Association. I'm a board member of the African Association. So when it came to the questions of how are people involved, we have an African Association that those who are members of that association know what's happening here. I always update them. From the beginning of the TRC, through the struggles with the Commission, they are always trying to see how best the two groups can work together. Some groups of Africans are not involved. Some groups of immigrants are also not involved, but majority know what's happening.
Excuse me, would you please speak to the microphone?
I'm sorry.
I don't know, today I'm have hard hearing or what's going on.
It's the mic. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very sorry.
That's great, yeah.
Yes. So we are involved as the immigrant community. There are very many Africans in here. There are very many people from the Latin American here. And as far as I know, among my group, they are involved. I'm very interested, and they're just waiting. All that has held them back is the struggles that have been going on with the struggle of war between the Commission and the city. But I think, as has been explained to you, all those three areas that you envision, and we really applaud your wisdom in guiding the Commission with those three areas: fact-finding, truth-telling, and reconciliation. We are ready. I attend the meetings, most of the times the public meetings when they allow me to attend. And I'm very hopeful that this is going to happen. Yeah, so they are good facilitators and consultants who are ready to help them with any questions they have, especially on the question that you ask about what are the Indian natives going to do. All this process sometimes is not only fact-finding. Sometimes when you are giving your facts, you need to be in a space because you can go through trauma. One time it's just that probably you have not watched. I've been testifying once in a while about some traumas that probably I have experienced in housing, with other bad interactions with some communities. And the Commission knows that because I've been testifying to them. And that has been a form in itself of truth-telling. Yeah. And so we are just starting. All those methodologies we are worried about, we are ready for them. We will be reaching the schools, we'll be reaching the religious institutions, different groups, to ask them if they're willing. We will also be reaching the non-governmental organizations who work with different communities on how they can help us move on. So we are really, really ready. We just ask you to help us move on, keep supporting us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. We have a hand up. Eduardo, welcome.
Thank you so much, Mayor Ting. I just wanted to say in a minute that something that I have found that is really fascinating in the case of Iowa City is that precisely because there is such a large and diverse immigrant community, there is already a lot of knowledge and experience about truth commissions. Many of the countries from which the immigrant community comes to Iowa City have already had processes of truth and reconciliation. During the sessions that we have had, we have found out that we have people who come from Mali, where there was a truth commission, from Kenya, where there was a truth commission, from South Sudan, when they are planning to create a truth commission, from Colombia, Guatemala, many countries where commissions have already happened. And so there is some knowledge and some experience already. And it's going to be quite fascinating to see how this knowledge, this wisdom is used for a city like Iowa City. And I must say also that I really, really find an incredibly useful piece, the resolution that you approved to create the Truth Commission, because it really details the activities that the Commission is going to do and explains exactly what is understood by truth-telling, fact-finding, and reconciliation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address this topic? Yes, please, welcome.
I can lower this. Great, good to see you all. I just wanted to add a bit. What a great presentation to bring you up to date. I guess I wanted to remind us of a few things about this.
Please state your name and city.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Hi, Annie Tucker. I live in Iowa City. Anything else? Okay, great, thanks. So the deal about the plan with 7 months, that was designed as kind of an education section and a synthesizing, brainstorming, create a plan, and try some pilots section for 4 months. And that was designed that way because at the time, the TRC didn't have much more time on their meter. They were scheduled to be ended just because of the way the resolution was, is my understanding. But so when this plan was created, it was so that it could fit within the remaining months of the commission. Then when the commission's lifetime got extended, it didn't seem wise to come back to you all and ask to change it, to redo it so that it had more time involved. So that is the current consultant contract, 7 months. And so they've spent 3 months learning a bunch of stuff, and all that information, all those learning sessions have been recorded, so any community member can have access to that information. That's an ongoing resource. That's powerful. Now they've been doing all this learning, and they're going to have more time to actually talk amongst themselves, learn what they're doing, ask the consultants who have been involved in 20 TRCs in the country and around the world. What an incredible resource. So talk with them as they begin, the community, as they begin to figure out what would be a good way to approach your resolution, your amazing resolution, the duties in the resolution, how to approach that best for Iowa Cityans. And then when the 7 months is done and they can tell you how they use this next 4 months, they have more time on their charge and can continue offering truth and reconciliation processes, continue, working with the facts that have been found. And so it's very exciting in that way. You know, this has been going on for more than 400 years, and they will have gotten some experience of how to do truth and fact-finding and reconciliation in these 7 months, and then move on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no one in person or online, council discussion. Well, I'll probably jump out there and want to appreciate the presenters from the TRC. I think you all did a great job. It came across very clear and understandable, so I appreciated that. And of course, to the one TRC, Marie Krebs, that didn't speak, I appreciate you being here, and to all of the TRC members, I appreciate the collective work of this presentation today. So there, before was opportunity for questions. I actually didn't have any questions other besides what fellow counselors stated. What I wanted to say is really related to my understanding of the first part being more geared towards training, which has come up several times for the TRC members. And then we just heard, the 7-month period is more training, trial and error, shall we say, in a way, try to figure out what is the right methodology, what is the right processes that's going to be taken. So I appreciated hearing that today in the presentation. I think I heard it articulated that making sure that we're involving various aspects of the BIPOC community, and there's BIPOC community and ethnically oppressed peoples, making sure that we're as much as possible, because you're right, you can't reach everyone. I do understand that, but just being very intentional in reaching some of the communities that have, been present or vocal at wanting to be involved, wanting to be present. So just being a little intentional there. Not much more to say. Honestly, I'm looking forward to see what's next, a part of the next phase. Sound like phase 1. You all have been very busy. I do know that it's not been easy trying to get all of the things in. So thanks for your time, your dedication to this purpose, and looking forward to the next phase.
I just want to say that this was a really, really informative presentation, and I appreciate it a lot. I knew that the first part was education of the commission themselves, yourselves, to really kind of get a scope and an understanding of what the work is. But what really struck me through your presentation is how the pieces are starting to fit together. And it doesn't mean that they're not Legos. There's not a perfect match, right? Or maybe they are like Legos, because you can do a lot of different things with the same pieces. But what I find exciting is that it went from sort of atomized. I heard, there's this going on and there's this, and it's like it's all starting to take some form so that you can move together, and to know that it can be iterated. And I realize this is like a pretty brutal schedule to do this amount of work in 7 months, but then that there's but there's time for you to iterate and say what worked, what didn't. Let's see if we can try this differently. And to continue doing that, I think, is really exciting. So I have to admit, I was, if not skeptical, I was a little more like, I don't know what am I gonna hear? But I'm very impressed with the amount of work that you've done, and also with the understanding that that work is here to now do more of it and have it be more circular and reaching out to the community and seeing what can work in that way, so that it can be co-created, and you can figure out what works and what doesn't work, and then you have time to do something with that. So I think that that's exciting, and I know that these efforts have been extremely difficult. So I just continue to say, it's like meet people where they're at, and really, really be as intentional and deliberate about outreach, and always trying to find the people who want to engage but are going to be maybe the hardest ones to find, or the ones who are themselves saying, you're representing the city. And so the work that you've done to be able to mitigate some of that concern is super important. So I'll end now, but thank you for your work.
I'll just reiterate my thanks to the commissioners for all of your effort, and not just the presentation this evening, but the last 3 years that folks have been working and at times really struggling through. For my colleagues, thank you for enabling the commission to continue. We've had some rough moments where that maybe didn't seem like that's what was going to happen, but I hope that this evening really solidifies for you how important this work is and will be for our community and for the future of our community. And I think it's really remarkable just to see, once the commission had that facilitator in place, as was contemplated from the very beginning, that once they had that facilitation assistance and support, to be able to get so much accomplished in such a very, very short amount of time. And then just looking ahead, thinking about what's been included in the contract with the facilitators, and knowing that there's much more that was alluded to this evening. And I think that we all can imagine, as we look at the resolution, that the city can continue to support, that this will go beyond the 7 months, and certainly resources that we already can tap into within the city in terms of that outreach and marketing, in terms of support for getting the word out in multiple languages, in terms of just the educational components and helping to spread and iterate some of the things that we know the commissioners have been receiving themselves, and opening that information and education up to the wider community. So I just hope that we continue our support, and that everyone here feels like we're really moving in the right direction.
Yeah, I just wanna, I think you said it perfectly for the outreach, and especially the translation. And I think, I hear that you said, like, if you have like more budgets for that, you should have done it with as many languages as you can. But I think translation should be a priority in your budget, because you are the people who you are dealing with. Is people their English is not the first language. Some of them, at least half of the people, the community you're going to be dealing with in this issue is people who speak different language. So I don't know how much money you have left or anything, but I want to see that. I really want to see, like, you're budgeting for translation, because if you want to hear the truth from many people, some people comfortable telling it in their language, so you have to have translation and, all these kind of things. That's my own, just idea or advice, but you guys did great job. I think this is not an easy, and thank you for taking that, hard job to navigate it. It's not something an easy things, and I wish you the best.
All right. Well, thanks to all of you for coming and speaking today. This has no voting items, so if there are no other comments, we are going to move on to our council appointments, which is items 12 and 12A is Housing and Community Development Commission. Housing and Community Development Commission has one vacancy to fill an unexpired term upon appointment through June 30th, 2025. There is a male requirement, gender requirement. So, council discussion.
I really want to say, I'm sorry to jump up first, but I really want to say Clinton Daimambu. First, because he is male. Second, he is an immigrant, a person of color. So that's what we need to add. We need representation. And if we look at the commission right now, I think we have only one person of color, or am I don't know. But we need just more representation of people of color to be on that committee. And by looking to the applicant, I think most of them are white, all of them.
I completely agree that there needs to be more and better representation of people of color on our commissions, and especially with the Housing and Community Development Commission. It's an incredibly weighty one, and it affects a lot of people in the immigrant community and lower income, and unfortunately there is a correlation of racial and economic, not diversity, but poverty. Sorry. My hesitation, though, with this particular applicant was that in writing out the, what do you know about this commission? How are you qualified? As he said, I have knowledge. I mean, there really was nothing for me to go on. And this has a lot of a heavy lift of reading and sifting through a lot. And I mean, he could be perfectly fine. He could be fantastic. But I cannot tell from the application that he's qualified.
But that's, I guess to your question, that's exactly why we need to give people opportunity. This person, he's immigrant, and he's not a person who know how much you want him to ride over there, or something like that. Not like white people who grow up here and they know exactly what you mean by that questions. And I just think, like you building a leaders, the person will learn as they go by involving in a commission or maybe joining a group. That's how we build leader in the community. They start gaining some knowledge,
Are we setting him up for success, though? Again, I'm not...
Opportunity.
There's opportunity, but...
Has anyone had the chance to speak with him? I usually try and reach out to people. I did not. Have you?
I really, to be honest with you, I think kind of I know him, but it may be like name similar. But I don't know. He said he's organizer. Organizer means like, he's been dealing with leader in the community, and that means he's, I don't know, sometimes immigrants don't know how to answer a question or how much you want, and I think we don't have to take that against them, comparing to, like, myself, sometimes I feel like, oh, well, how much you want me to say on that? And, a question can be easy for you guys, it's not going to be easy for me. And
so what I will say is I do hear you, and I would agree that sometimes the applications that we get from some individuals may not be very in-depth and can paint a clear picture of their desire to be a part. I really don't believe that people need to be experts to be a part of our commissions. There is a balance that I think we need to consider when we're looking at the overall makeup of a commission. I do also want to note that in the application, the Human Rights Commission strives to ensure the commission is representative of the community. Therefore, appointments shall take into consideration persons of various racial, religious, cultural, social, and economic groups in the city. Now, we do know that there will be a slew of new appointments that will be coming up because some individuals' appointments will be expiring. And so I think there might be more opportunities for us to look at individuals. What I will say is, given the information that is before us tonight, I did not make the call, which certainly I think that is probably something for us to consider when we're seeing maybe an applicant that we want to get more information from, that we make it a point to reach out to them to have that conversation and share it with amongst ourselves as to how they can serve. I do agree that there are times when we need to just dig a little deeper into someone's desire to be on a commission. At this point, I don't think that I can make a decision based on the information that I have tonight for this individual. But I do totally understand what you're saying, and I agree. I think there's a little more work that we can do on our end when we see anything like this.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you, Megan. That I had noted too on Clinton's application that he wrote. I have knowledge, but yet another one of the applicants just wrote absolutely no knowledge. I have absolutely no knowledge, which was interesting. Although that person checked all the boxes, we don't always see all the boxes checked. The HCDC has specific questions: knowledge of nonprofits, property management, rental assistance, construction experience, and financial experience. We don't always see any of those boxes checked, and that person had all the boxes checked, but yet said has absolutely no knowledge of
That commission.
So this, I mean, to be quite honest, none of them really jumped out at me, although I did see that that this young person, Clinton, was Congolese and a person of color, which would be good to have that balance on there. And perhaps this would be helpful for him to get the knowledge of how the community runs. And he mentioned he had expertise in property management and nonprofits, so he's got something going for him there that he knows a little bit about that. But to be honest, none of them really jumped right out at me.
I think overall the comments were very short in comparison to what we've seen with other applications.
You know, if we don't, and I don't know that I'm necessarily advocating this, but, you know, in the past, if we felt like, hey, we could use a few more, you know, put it off one meeting to open up or reopen up for additional applications, if we're not feeling particularly powerfully inclined for any of the current. I know we've done that before. So, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I too was not, no one jumped out at me in terms of the selection. I think the idea of maybe leaving it open and perhaps reaching out to those who we have before us tonight to provide more information in their application.
I mean, quite honestly, there were at least two that did jump out, but if people are more inclined to kind of pause, I can be supportive of that. But there were two names that I was prepared to support or suggest.
One of the things that when I was on HCDC, I was struck by the candidates who have had some kind of experience with property management or with construction or with being involved in that, or even nonprofit experience, which usually means you're going through grants. All of those types of things I found were really, really helpful. And I learned from the commission that I was on with people who had more of that expertise. There was someone who had property management, and it was a whole other, it helped bring things to the conversation. So, you know, it may be that we want to wait, or we can look in a little bit more depth at some of these candidates who did check some of those boxes, just to see, to check in with them and get a little bit more, because the application doesn't allow for a whole lot of.
Yeah, I really don't. Whatever you want to do, no problem. But just want to tell you, sometimes there is an issue, not only like about grant or anything, come to before this commission. I remember when we did the Section 8 housing and really completely immigrant issues, because they are the one who go outside the country and stay more than 60 days, and we ask for that. So I was glad that there is some members who are immigrants there in that commission who can really firsthand relate to this issue. That's what I mean by diversity. When you diversify the commissioner, that means you have more people who they know this problem firsthand, and not just like the people who are born here, and they will be the one who are knowledgeable.
So I do want to bring us back to the task at hand, which is a council appointment or a commission appointment. I did look to see what vacancies are coming up. The HCDC is not on there. And so because I know we had a lot of appointments that we're going to be making, which those applications closed on, well, a lot closed on November 14th, but HCDC wasn't one of those. So if there's a majority to kind of mull this over or want to, contact some of the applicants, because there was, I think, overall short answers that we can explore and have more conversations with those individuals. And of course, it'd still be open to other individuals to apply. Well, yeah, we would have to.
I guess that's fine.
Do we have to
Can we go
reopen
through
it?
a process where we would still seek to appoint next meeting, but accept any applications before then, like on the December 5th deadline, or how?
I mean, we've already advertised for the 30-day notice. We can defer appointment to the December 11th, 12th. And still leave the vacancy notice out there and just do open until filled. I think we've covered our 30-day requirement.
Right, because I assumed that the notice that we posted did not say applications close on X date.
Well, there was a deadline, but
Okay.
we have in the past
Just extended the deadline.
extended it
Yeah,
for whatever reason.
yeah, okay.
Okay, if that's doable, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we would defer until the next meeting and then leave it open until filled?
I think
So I would entertain a motion to defer.
Okay, second. Oh,
You
there's no
move.
second.
Moved by Salee.
Second, Harmson.
And just so we're clear, we're deferring to December 12th?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
A move by Salee, seconded by Harmson. Council discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is deferred until, motion is passed, 7-0. We're going to move on to our announcements of vacancies previous, which is item number 13A. Airport Zoning Board of Adjustment, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Airport Zoning Commission, one vacancy to fill a 6-year term. Board of Adjustment, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Board of Appeals, one vacancy to fill a 5-year term. Climate Action Commission, 3 vacancies to fill a 3-year term. Human Rights Commission, 3 vacancies to fill a 3-year term. Parks and Recreation Commission, 2 vacancies to fill a 4-year term. Public Art Advisory Committee, 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired term. Public Art Advisory Committee, 2 vacancies. 1 at large and 1 art or design professional to fill 3-year terms. Senior Center Commission, 2 vacancies to fill 3-year terms. Applications will remain, must be received by 5 p.m. Tuesday, December 5th, 2023. Historic Preservation Commission, East College Street, 1 vacancy to fill an unexpired term. Historic Preservation Commission, Jefferson Street, 1 vacancy to fill a 3-year term. Historic Preservation Commission, Woodlawn Avenue, vacancies will remain open until filled. We're at item number 14, which is City Council information.
I just want to say that in addition to the awesome list that our USG representative brought up about women's basketball and football and all of that, that the inaugural season of women's University of Iowa wrestling kicked off, and they smashed their opponents. It was amazing. It was some great wrestling, and they're now ranked number 1.
On November 30th, there will be a public library legislative session. It's going to be held at North Liberty Library. And that'll be Thursday, November 30th, 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Hearing no other announcements, we're going to move on to our city managers, our item number 15, reports from our city staff. We'll go with our city manager's office.
Nothing tonight, thanks.
City Attorney's Office.
I do have one this time. I had the pleasure of attending the Iowa Municipal Attorneys Association annual conference in Des Moines on Friday. It was one of the most time-efficient CLEs for we municipal attorneys, because as the name implies, it's all about municipal attorneys in Iowa. Sometimes we attend national CLEs or more broad-based Iowa-based CLEs, but this is really kind of hits the sweet spot, and so that's great. Even greater is the opportunity to kind of reconnect with a number of folks, other metro city attorneys and other assistant city attorneys with whom we oftentimes speak on the phone or exchange emails, but don't get to meet in person as often, particularly over the last few years. And so it was delightful to be able to rekindle those relationships. It's a true value, as I always tell my staff. Some of the most important things you'll do at CLEs is going and making and forming those relationships with others so you can pick up the phone and, run something by them. So that was great.
Great, thank you. Our city clerk's office.
Nothing from me.
All right, we're at item number 16. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So move, Thomas.
Second, Sully. Sully. You were going to say it. Harmson.
Oh, that is hilarious. All right.
I'm so used to hearing you say it.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.